Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Megan. I do free workouts here on YouTube as well as adventure and travel content. And I've been meaning to make this video. I wanted to kind of go over my time in Yellowstone. I worked there for 2 summers in 2017 and 2018. So I just wanted to give a little more backstory on why I did that, how it was, and just give you some more information if it's something that maybe you're interested in doing or are just curious about. And before I get started, I did want to mention I'm actually going to be doing an amazing road trip this summer for about a month, and my final destination will be Yellowstone. So if you are interested in seeing more about the park from someone who's worked there, definitely subscribe, follow along that journey. It's gonna be really awesome. I have some really fun things planned. But yeah, so I'll get into everything I wanted to talk about. I've got 8 parts to get to, so let's get into it. So if you didn't know, Yellowstone is actually the world's first national park, which was a big draw for me as far as where I was looking to work. Not that that was necessary, but I just thought that that was really cool. And I loved how diverse it is, especially after getting there and exploring. I'll kind of go more into detail on that, but it's just so different. Each location, each part of the park has its own wildlife and its own unique features. So it's really, really cool. It's really diverse. It's huge. It's 2.2 million acres, and most of that is backcountry and never really even gets visited unless you are a backcountry hiker, camper. So it's just a really beautiful place, even just to drive through. I always recommend it to people if they've never been. I always say you have got to go there. It's literally like being on another planet. Along with just being really big, it has a ton of wildlife. It's home to thousands of bison, elk, wolves, of course different birds. I'm a big birder now, so I'm going back and I'm really excited about that. Moose, mountain lions, just all kinds of wildlife. It's absolutely incredible. Of course, you do want to keep your distance. I forgot to mention bears. There are bears there. I had to carry bear spray everywhere I went, especially on hikes, so that's a big thing. A lot of tourists tend to get pretty close to the bison and the elk, so just be careful. Definitely read up on how many yards you should be away from each animal before you go. They are not trained animals, they are wild, and you are in their home, so just keep that in mind if you are thinking of visiting. I loved the bison so much that I ended up getting a tattoo of one. You can kind of see it, but it has mountains and wildflowers in it. So I absolutely love that tattoo, and Yellowstone was just a huge part of my life, so I wanted to have that with me forever. Okay, so part 1 is why and how I ended up working in Yellowstone. So if you did not know, am born and raised in South Florida. I had lived here my whole entire life, never lived anywhere else. I didn't go away for college. Like, I really had not ventured out. I have traveled a little bit, but never anything out west, really. So I just knew that I always wanted to, live somewhere else and experience something else other than South Florida. And finding out that I could work seasonally in a national park and not have to worry about being stuck in a lease in an apartment or anything like that, like housing was provided. I just thought it was the perfect opportunity to try it out, and I could leave if I really wanted to and not be really tied to anything. And of course I get to live in a national park, so that's amazing in itself. So I ended up applying through a company named Xanterra. They employ a lot of different parks around the US, and I applied for a waitressing position. And then throughout the process, I ended up having a phone interview. And then over time, I found out I got the job, and then they would send just tons of information about things that you need, information about the park, about the animals, things like that. So I felt very prepared. I got a lot of the stuff they recommended. Another reason I decided to do this is I knew I really wanted to explore more of the US, and obviously working out there, I knew I'd be able to do that whether it was on my way out there or on my way back. So it was a really great opportunity to take time to explore. Along with Xanterra, there are other companies that employ people in the park, a few being Delaware North, YPSS, which is like the service station, NPS, obviously, National Park Service, and YSERP, which is the Yellowstone Employee Recreation Program. I'll get into that later. And fun fact, I did not know anybody. Damn! I was going out there without knowing one person. So this was like super out of my comfort zone. I had never left home to live anywhere else. I had never really gone anywhere else on my own for that, long of a time. So this was definitely a little bit nerve-wracking, but I knew that it was something I wanted to do, and I was just really, really excited about it. Part 2, I'm gonna get into the living accommodations. So I was living in a dorm, essentially. I know different locations have a little bit of different layouts or different housing accommodations, but where I was in Canyon Village. We lived in a dorm, so I had a roommate both times. And the rooms, I'll be honest, are not very big, but you really don't need that much space as long as you have a place to sleep, place to put your clothes and your things. It honestly worked for me, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. I got really lucky. My first summer, I had a great roommate, shout out Francis, and second summer, I ended up rooming with a friend that I was working with. My first summer, we became very close. Rivers, hey girl, if you're watching this. But yeah, so me and her roomed together the second summer, which was awesome. Mostly everything was furnished, so it came with a bed, nightstand, you had a dresser, I think they gave us like a chair, and there was closet space to like hang things, so there was plenty of things that were already supplied. You just kind of had to bring your own bed sheets and things like that. But depending on your position, you could have different living accommodations. So I know of someone who was a manager. They had their own dorm room without a roommate, and some of them I think had their own bathroom. I did have to use a shared bathroom. It had 3 showers and 3 toilet stalls, I believe, and like 3 sinks. So definitely dorm style, but I had never gone away to college, never lived in a dorm, so it was kind of cool to experience that. And if you are looking into doing something like this, again, the locations might be different, the national parks might be a little bit different. I do know that our location did have an employee campground, and I had a few friends that actually lived there with their rigs, whether it was a camper or an RV. I'm not exactly sure about the details that go into that, but that is an option, at least in where we were in Canyon. And since you are living in a national park, it's not uncommon to come into contact with wildlife, even by the dorms. So that's something we always had to kind of be mindful of, is walking outside, making sure there wasn't a bison around. We did have a dorm bison. We named him Carl. I'm not sure if he's still there, but he would kind of walk in between the buildings sometimes. I'll try to submit a picture here if I still have it. And then one last thing about accommodations is Wi-Fi. I know a lot of people are always kind of curious about that. We did have an employee Wi-Fi. It wasn't the greatest, but you were able to make phone calls, able to text for the most part, which is all I really needed to do personally. I kind of liked not being able to like get on social media. I mean, I think I was able to, but sometimes it would just take a long time to load. And yeah, so it was kind of nice to just live in the moment. That's kind of the point when you're out in a place like that. There would be some times where friends and I would, go out to like a town that was close by and sit at a coffee shop for a couple hours, download some songs on Spotify or things like that to kind of load up for when we went back into the park. But other than that, it was awesome. Part 3 is going to be employee meals. So since I lived in the dorm, I had 3 meals that were included every single day. So breakfast, lunch, dinner at the employee dining room, otherwise known as the EDR. They had certain times that they were open during the day, so you can go eat your meal. It is taken out of the paycheck. I don't remember exactly how much, but it's definitely not that much compared to like what you would pay in rent. Same thing with housing. I do believe they take something out of your paycheck for that. But again, for where you get to live, I personally don't think it's, that much. The food, I would say, is not the healthiest, but they do have a lot of options. It rotates every day. There was always a salad bar, so if you did want to try to get some greens in, it's definitely possible. So yeah, it's really nice to have that option, not have to cook. And another cool thing is, like, I was in Canyon, but sometimes I would be near Mammoth, another location in the park, and you can have a meal there. So let's say I was there during lunchtime and I wanted to eat, I could go to that EDR, at least back then. I don't know if things have changed, but I would assume not. One other cool thing about the EDR is if you had like a hike planned one day and you weren't going to be around for lunch, you could sign up the day before for like a bagged lunch and it would be ready for you the next morning. So you could pick it up. And I think you got to decide. I would usually do like a PB&J. They'd put like some chips, maybe an apple, things like that. So you could take it with you on the hike and you have a meal ready for your day. Part 4 is gonna be getting there. So how did I get there? Me and my mom ended up doing about a 10-day road trip, I believe is how long we took the first time. Again, like I was saying, I knew I wanted to explore more of the US, more national parks, so I definitely took the opportunity to take my time getting to Yellowstone. I was lucky enough that I was able to do that. My mom was able to take some time off of work. We started in Southeast Florida, went all the way up north, and we kind of stayed south along the US going west. We got to visit places like New Orleans. We went to the big Texan steak ranch in Texas, obviously. Cadillac Ranch, which if you don't know, it's like a bunch of Cadillacs standing out of the sand, which was pretty cool. We went to Petrified Tree National Forest, the Grand Canyon, Antelope Canyon, Horseshoe Bend, Bryce Canyon. Like, we really hit up some awesome spots and we got to experience that together, which was really, really special. Part 5 is where I worked in the park. I know I've already mentioned this, but here is a map of the park. I'm gonna put it here so you can get a better understanding if you're not familiar. I definitely wasn't, but you can kind of look at it like a shape of the letter 8, and that's kind of how I like visually thought it out when I would drive around. So I was in Canyon. It was pretty much in the middle of the park, which was a great spot in my opinion. I was kind of central to most things. We have the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, which is amazing. It's a huge, huge waterfall with a canyon, of course, and it was literally like maybe a mile and a half walk from where I was living. So we would take that trail sometimes and just like walk over there, hang out, look at the beautiful view. And yeah, it was just a great spot. I absolutely loved being in Canyon. A lot of the more popular areas of the park would be like Old Faithful, Mammoth, Lake is very well known. And like I was kind of mentioning earlier, they all have their own unique thing. So Canyon has the Grand Canyon, Mammoth is really known for the hot springs, Lake, obviously known for the huge Yellowstone Lake, and Old Faithful, you guessed it, known for Old Faithful Geyser. So that's obviously an amazing experience to see that actually go off in person. Totally recommend that. And there are some other locations in the park that I think are worth mentioning. Bridger Bay, you can take a boat out onto Yellowstone Lake from there. Super, super fun. Roosevelt is awesome if you want to go horseback riding. They also do like the old-timey horse-drawn carriages that take you out to a cookout in the woods. It's super, super fun. I've done that before. And yeah, like I said, they're all unique and there's something to do everywhere. So if you have a lot of time, I would recommend at least a week if you really, really, really want to get around the park and like stop and do some things. But yeah, there is a ton to do. Part 6 is my job. So as I said, I had originally applied to be a waitress at one of the restaurants and they put me in a restaurant at Canyon. That's where I was assigned to work. I did that for a month, maybe a little bit more, and randomly ended up meeting the assistant director of the employee recreation program, which I said I would get back to at the beginning. And he was mentioning how they were looking for another recreation coordinator at the Canyon location. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, what is that? And he explained what the job is, and it sounded amazing. And I ended up just saying, well, I would be interested if that's possible, you know? So long story short, I ended up getting the job and switching to the recreation department. I was working with 2 awesome people, Rivers and Chris. I got super close with them. We had an amazing time working together. And essentially what we did is take employees that worked in the park on trips in and around the park. So when I worked there, there were a lot of people that came from other countries. They didn't have vehicles. They didn't have really a way to get around the park or to get to towns outside of the park to shop and do things like that. So our program essentially provided that service for them. So they could sign up for trips. We did things like whitewater rafting, zip lining, hiking, wildlife watching. We did full moon hikes. We also did shopping trips. So let's say you really needed stuff at Walmart and we were gonna do a trip to Cody, Wyoming. You could sign up for it and we would take you there. So it was just a really, really awesome job. I was driving a 14-passenger van around the park, which was pretty cool experience. And we were also in charge of things in our location, like local activities, local events. So we put on like open mic nights, we did pool tournaments, cornhole tournaments, we had weekly sports games like volleyball, basketball, we had softball. So we did literally everything recreation you can think of. And it was just such an awesome time. And I loved that job so much that I ended up going back the second summer in 2018. I could not wait to go back. I really didn't even want to go home, if I'm being honest. Also, I know I mentioned earlier that there are all kinds of jobs that national parks offer. So I just wanted to mention a couple other ones in case this is, again, something you're interested in looking into, and maybe you didn't think that this was available, but it is. So of course there's food and beverage, you have front of the house, back of the house staff. You could work at one of the hotels, you can be a receptionist, bellman, housekeeping. They have all kinds of positions open there. Different admin positions, accounting, comptroller, working at gift shops. You could work for HR. They have maintenance positions, recycling, painting, and super cool, you could also be a wrangler and work with horses. So there's literally something for everyone, and that's what I think is so cool about it, is you meet people from different stages of life. There were people with their kids there, there were elderly people working there, young people, I mean people of all ages, and it was just a really cool experience. Part 7, I wanted to go over some of the perks. I forgot to do this, part 7. The perks of living in Yellowstone. Obviously, living in Yellowstone is number one. You can't really beat living in a national park. You have it as your backyard, you know, it's just awesome. I know most positions, at least the ones that I worked in, give you 2 consecutive days off. So you're able to have a full weekend to explore and do things in and around the park. A lot of times on the weekends, we would either go hiking, camping, or we would even leave the park to explore other areas around. So a lot of places I got to venture out to were the Grand Tetons, Jackson Hole, Cody, Wyoming for rodeos, super awesome place. My dog is actually named after Cody, Wyoming. Went to Gardner, Montana, which is a super cute small town. I absolutely love it there. Bozeman, Montana, Big Sky, Montana, even ventured into Idaho. West Yellowstone is also a really awesome town, which is right outside of the west entrance of Yellowstone. And another super cool thing is I got to experience a lot of firsts while living in the park. Some being going backcountry camping. I had never done that before, so that means if you're not familiar, you hike into a spot and then you camp there for the night or however long, and then you hike back out. So you're not just like driving your car up to a campsite, you have to actually hike to get to the campsite, bring all your gear, set up, have a campfire, hang out with friends. It's super fun. I had never set up a tent on my own. I actually bought a tent while I was out there because I didn't own one. I experienced snow in June, which was kind of crazy. It was literally sunny one day and then the next day it snowed. So it's super unpredictable weather there. We were in the highest part of the park, so it was kind of cool to experience like a snowy day in the middle of summer. Living in a dorm, I already said that, but I had never lived in a dorm before. Driving a 14-passenger van, getting lost on a hike, attending a wedding in the park. That was super cool. And seeing the Milky Way while camping. You see so many stars when you're out there because there's not much light pollution. It is just so breathtaking. But the most important thing that I experienced, and it might sound a little lame, is getting to know myself on a deeper level. Getting out of my comfort zone helped me to realize who I am and what I wanted out of life and what's actually important to me. South Florida is my home, but Yellowstone will always have my heart, and I always view it as my second home. Okay, last but not least, part 8. I just wanted to give a little bit of inspiration to someone who may need it. So first off, if you are considering working at a national park, or more specifically Yellowstone, I would 10 out of 10 recommend, probably 100 out of 10 recommend. Or if you're just someone who is maybe scared to try something new or to get out of your comfort zone or go to a new place on your own, I say do it. Don't let fear hold you back, especially if it's something that you know you truly want. You never know what's out there until you do it. And the best part about doing anything or making any change that I've learned is it does not have to be permanent. You can always leave, you can always change your situation. Just because you accept a job doesn't mean you're stuck there for the rest of your life. Just because you move to a new state doesn't mean you have to be there forever. You can always change your mind if it isn't for you. But what if it is? Thank you so much for watching. If you had made it this far, I really appreciate it if you actually did watch this video through. And if you have any questions, you can definitely leave them in the comments. I would be happy to answer. If you have more questions about looking for jobs in national parks, I'm gonna leave in the description the website that I applied through and then some of the other ones that you can look for positions at as well. And again, don't forget, I am going on a pretty epic road trip this summer, so be sure to subscribe if that is something you want to follow along with. I'm super excited to document the journey and share it with you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.